I've been asked by Father Chris to give a reflection, and I thought I would share with you one of the things going through my head during this lockdown and this period, and that's been, what is it to be a Christian during this time? And at first, I thought the easy answers were there for everyone to see. Feeding the poor, giving to the hungry, trying being good with our friends and neighbours. And very quickly I realised it wasn't that. There was more to it than that. There was something much, much more deeper that had to be realised. And yet I was nowhere near that. And the reason I said that was because a lot of my friends are proud atheists, and they are as generous as any Christian I know, and are as good and as nice to friends and neighbours as anybody I know. And many times embarrass me as to how good they are. And it reminded me of a story which I'm going to share with you, which I've heard recently, and I think it makes the point. A woman in her 30s or 40s, and she was a school teacher and been diagnosed with terminal cancer. And during this period, she had a spiritual director visit once or twice a week. And often they would just sit in silence or would reflect on various things. On one occasion when he turned up, she was in a distressed state and was angry. A diamond ring had gone missing and she suspected the carer. She turned to the spiritual director and said, "Look, what should I do? Shall I call the police or shall I confront the woman?" And the spiritual director turned to her and said, "Look, I don't know what you should do, but I'm going to ask you some questions, and I want you to answer from deep within, not from your head." And the questions were, how do you realise that you'll have to let go of the ring at some point, possibly very soon? How much time do you need before you'll be ready to let go of it? Will you become less when you let go of it? Has who you are become diminished by the loss? Now, when he said that, she began to smile, and a peace came over her. And the spiritual director turned to her and said, "Look, that is the joy of being. Once you move out of your head and deep within you, you'll sense your I amness." She turned to him and said, "Look, I've suddenly realised a story mentioned by Jesus in the Gospels, but one she hadn't really fully understood. The one where he says, look, if someone takes your shirt, give them your coat as well." Now, over the next few weeks and months, she began to give away most of what she owned, including to the carer whom she suspected of stealing the ring. Now, when the spiritual director received a phone call to say that she had died, they advised him that she'd given away most of her things in that period, and that they'd found the ring in the medicine cabinet. Now, whether that was the carer returning it or whether it had been misplaced, we will never know. But one thing he does know, she found that deep sense of joy, a deep sense of radiance within her from letting go of what she thought was so important. I think for most of us as Christians, we do need to rethink ourselves. We need to look at the environment and reassess our relationships with our families, with our friends, with those about us, and the relationship we have with the world itself. We're struggling with this. And even now there is a huge pressure on returning things the way they are. I fear that we will do so. And nothing will have changed. And the most important question of all, what have we learned, will be left unanswered. So for me personally, I'm happy to remain sitting and wondering and pondering, what all this means. And I appreciate that, the world wants to return back to the way it was. But I think there is so much more to learn before it's back to business. I'm going to leave you with a quote from Father Richard Draw, which I think summarises everything I've said. He said, "We worship Jesus instead of following him on his same path. We made Jesus into a mere religion instead of a journey towards union with God and everything else. This shift made us into a religion of belonging and believing instead of a religion of transformation."